Hello and welcome back to another video of the World Championships for SolForge Fusion 2024. We are bringing you Swiss Round 5. We have Evan Gascoigne. Again, sorry if I'm butchering the name, but Evan is facing off against Matt Stanke, who is Mundungu, who was last year's runner-up in the World Championship. So this should be an exciting match, and I have joining me Eli Moore, aka More Than Most, who's going to give us his expert commentary and analysis of the matches. Eli, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Matt's deck. I got to play him in I think it was round 3, maybe it was round 4 that I got to play Matt. So I am familiar with this deck.
Awesome.
He's playing a Rumble Spark deck, and so we've got another Rumble Spark versus Life Gain matchup.
Should be an interesting battle here. Let's jump into the match here.
All right, so we have Evan on Forge. This is the triple vampiric Necranium Utera. We're starting with a Swamp Moss Lurker. No healing start, but just nice to get a solid 4/6 down and hope for the high roll in next cycle.
Both of these players are at this point in the Swiss round, are the only two undefeated players. Everyone else has had a loss at this point.
Oh, and here we get Matt coming out with the Nova Elementalist first turn. Putting it out on the outer lane. When I need to play a Rumble and I don't know where to put it, I typically put it in the outermost lane. And the fact that Matt's doing that makes me feel good about my decision making, because Matt is such an incredibly analytical player. You'll see he's taking notes. He will make note of the important cards in the opponent's deck and mark when they get used, when they get put into the discard, keeping track of what level it is. And actually, against Matt, he inspired me to start taking notes myself. I would highly recommend doing some practice with that before just whipping it out because your opponent is taking notes, and it's terrifying. So we have the Ferocious Hunter come out. Let's see here. We have the Shambling Spectre. So this is a Shambling with Stealth. It's really nice. Gonna let the Hunter stay in that lane. Hit into the face a bit. Shambling creatures are really good for Nova Elementalist. If the creature can trigger while it's in the lane, it will be an elemental and deal some damage. But that Hunter was a little too threatening to be able to put the Shambler in that lane.
Yeah, it was a good job by Evan to clog that lane up immediately, so he wouldn't have a play there.
Yeah, even if you're off Forge, there are some aggressive creatures or whatnot. Or there's the Vampiric Demon. Very nice, immediately being able to flip the RSE into the creature half. Now, what's really dangerous here is even if the Rumble Spark is dealt with, if any of Matt's creatures die and that Shambler's left alone, then the Rumble Spark will be able to flip It is post-combat, but pre-post-combat batch resolution. So by the time the Shambling batch resolves, the Rumble Spark Exalt will be in lane, and it can immediately flip. We get see the Steadfast Creeper. So either take 5 or destroy a creature. If I'm Matt, it's like you could utilize, he's going to take the damage. You could utilize the Rumble Spark as a fodder, but early in the game, you definitely want a scaling body on board over 5 health. See a Darkheart Sorcerer. It's a very nice card in this matchup, or in this fuse.
He's got lots of ways now to bring back the Rumble Spark if Evan were to kill it.
See a Vampiric Patron come down. Draining 2 life. There is a beast on board to be buffed. Creeper. Coming into next turn, there are going to be 2 ways to trigger Rumble Spark, through either the Darkheart or the Shambling. We're going to see a trade between Vampiric and the Hunter. That Patron's going to be able to buff up the Creeper's attack enough to trade with the Shambling creature.
The Patron cannot remove the Darkheart. Doesn't have enough attack yet.
Yep, and the Darkheart is going to trade over, because Darkheart has 3 attack, right? So then having Defender, even in next turn, it's going to be hard to finish off that Darkheart. You see this Kindred Keeper, very powerful card, going to buff up those beasts. Speaking of that Patron that was going to die, he's no longer going to die.
We saw this last match from Evan with his beasts out there.
See the Betrayer Runescarred Pit. That's very fun. Rumble Spark's going to get buffed up and you get a 6/6 body down. It's also going to be a trigger for that Darkheart. It's synergizing both as a spell for the Darkheart and a body for the Shambling.
That's a really cool half deck. You get RC and a Betrayer Runescarred Pit. That's really fun.
I like Betrayers that stay in flavor of like, yeah, I'm paired with a Necreum and I've got Necreum in me. See the Lead the Charge.
He's going to keep his keeper alive from the zombie brute.
It's going to keep helping everything else keep healthier too. Between the Patron and the Keeper, there's really good targets for that Lead the Charge. Most of the time in these competitive settings, we see Lead the Charge being played with a Mantis or Forge Seal, but this is definitely a cool and consistent way to utilize this card.
So Evan playing the Lead the Charge leaves the Rumble Spark unblocked. He's at 8 attack already, and Matt could potentially buff it to 12 if he has another spell to play. His Dark Heart will survive. Well, everything but his Shambler should survive from combat.
At this stage, you also want to be thinking about what Forgeborn abilities we're going to start seeing coming out in Cycle 2. You see Summon the Swarm from Matt and Soul Siphon from Evan. You see the Grave Pact coming down. I'm going to be sacrificing sacrificing the Shambling.
And protect his Dark Heart. Yeah.
Yep. Going to take in 6 from the Creeper there, but there's a Shambling proc in the middle there, as well as a Dark Heart Sorcerer proc. A big swing in with the Rumble Spark.
So we saw this kind of last game with Evan losing a lot of health early in a match, so we know he can come back from it. So Matt will have to keep the pressure on as we end Cycle 1 here.
Yep. Well, having a Dark Heart Sorcerer and a Rumble Spark out on field, that's a good way to start things going. The Summon the Swarm is going to play into those spell liking plays for the Dark Heart and the Rumble Spark, as well as putting elementals out on the field if the Rumble Spark is removed to help bring it back out. And Soul Siphon, it's a great way to punch in a big hit or save a creature like the Keeper, so it can keep on growing bigger and growing everything else bigger too. I do like these green dragon sleeves. It does feel thematic for the deck. So we have Matt on Forge here in Cycle 2. You see the Fireheart Idol coming down. This is an Exalt that does nothing when it's played, but as you play spells or creatures into the lane, it gains charges. And when it gets 4 charges, you can have it deal 6 damage both to the player and to an enemy creature. And in Rumble Spark decks with Dark Heart Sorcerer, Lightning Spell procs, this card is fantastic. It's got a delayed effect, but 6 is a nice, strong, sizable amount for removing a creature, as well as 6 damage to the opponent is huge. That is a fourth of Evan's current life. So we saw the Kindred Keeper coming down and then immediately getting removed with Grave Pact. We see some Dark Heart pings, some buffing. Again, that Creeper is going to be allowed to slide in and deal some damage, but we're going to try to keep the Glowhive Siren alive.
and not
trade
block.
over there instead of
Rumble Spark's
jumping.
at 20 attack. It's like a death wish.
Yeah, especially considering the uh, Exalt that already has 2 charges on it. Whether Matt plays 1 spell and a creature, 2 creatures, or 2 spells, that'll be enough to. Oh,
Okay.
there we go. This is Raswell.
Oh,
Woohoo!
yeah.
Okay.
Buried the lead
I
there. I was going to say, you can't let that go unblocked. That's crazy.
All right, let me see. A little bit of extra health coming out to these guys, too. And Keeper's living.
Yeah. So you got, he's still got 3 creatures on the board, so he's got good board presence. It's just a matter of time before he can fill it up and go off. And if he can get that Rumble Spark off the board, it'll be a big, big bonus for him. Even if it comes back, it just comes back with the 4 base attack to start with. So
Yeah, I'd much rather be seeing a 4 than 20 here. Although that Creeper has been steadily chipping away turn after turn, not being able to have something to block it.
Matt's definitely prioritized keeping his Dark Heart and safety there. So
Dark Heart is such a valuable tool in these games that are just so close. The numbers might look small, but if you're doing it both healing yourself and damaging the opponent, like this Vampiric Demon, that's like a 4 health differential. It's not just the 2 that you're seeing. And we're going to see this Creeper, or sorry, not the Creeper, the Keeper buffing up beasts along with the Creeper. Ooh, we're going to see a couple of zombies coming out, zombie brutes, as well as that Rumble Spark's going to get even bigger, and the Dark Heart's going to trigger again.
it's a great value play to get
But
the blocks out there.
And I believe that's going to be enough triggers on this Flame Sculptor seal? Or, sorry, not the Flame, whatever this Exalt is.
The Fireheart Idol, I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I think it's only got 3 on it. Needs 4, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, but in the final action. So we see the Primal Surge coming out with either a spell or just putting a creature down in before combat. Matt will be able to trigger it. Let's see if Evan notices that and keeps that in his mind as he's.
It's a good point. When you play the artifact or the exalt rather, it doesn't do anything, and you kind of forget that it's there. It's just an exalt in the lane that doesn't. People don't think about it doing anything, so he may forget that it can do 6 damage to him and to a creature.
In fact, when I played against Matt, he had forgotten himself that, like, oh yeah, I also get to damage you, and I was like, yep, I take 6 extra damage. And the numbers don't increase on it very high. I think it goes 6, 7, 8 as it scales, but it also scales down the number of required triggers, making it fairly powerful, especially with all the spell synergy stuff. believe that's the level 2 creeper that he just buffed.
He's got enough
Here we
damage
see a
there.
Soul Reap.
Plus the Fireheart Idol damage will kill his
Yep.
Vampiric Demon, which means the Rumble Spark is going to get through with 28 attack.
Yep, because it's going to get buffed an extra 4 after this spell resolves. And
right.
not to mention, it's dealing 3 damage. Oh no, there's no beast on it. Out. So it's only dealing damage to the player. Yep, that's game.
Yeah. So people can see right there how dangerous a Rumble Spark can be and how big it can get, how quickly it can get that big. And I really to, learn how to play against a Rumble Spark deck, you really just have to practice to learn all the interactions it has. It's really a difficult card to learn how to play against, and even if you have Rumble Spark deck, how to play with it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those decks where you really have to think about your execution. It's a very thinky deck. I think with the deck building constraints of SolForge, it's not often you really find yourself in these combo-y fuses, where this Rumble Spark is definitely a combo-y fuse.
All right. Well, that wraps up the first 5 rounds of Worlds. There was 5 rounds of Swiss for this, and we'll get the standings updated. We'll show you the top 8, the top cut, the 8 players who are going to compete for the World Championship. And our next video will be the top 8 top cut match. And Eli, we started with you on the Swiss rounds, and we're going to start with you on the top cut matches as well.
Yeah.
You're going up against
and
Matt.
We're ending with Matt.
Yeah.
We're starting with Matt.
Yeah.
I got to play Matt twice that day.
Yeah, I never played him, and I didn't know who he was at the table. And I remember asking, I think I asked Nathus, I'm like, who's that guy? Because he was doing really well. He's like, that's Manunku. I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't know he was going to be here. Like, so yeah, his reputation definitely precedes him. But yeah, so we'll get the standings updated. Thank you, Eli, again for joining me and giving us your analysis and commentary for the match. Appreciate that. And thank you everyone who's watching. I appreciate you guys supporting, and hopefully you'll join us for the next match that we have. Thank you.